individuales y
Jeremy.
de salida de la
Jeremy.
conferencia vamos a hacer.
Jálalo para la...
En este momento está Jeremy Lacham, productor
Jeremy,
de
here,
Calabozos
please.
y Dragones, Flor entre ladrones. Con ustedes en el protocolo.
Jeremy.
Jeremy, one step here, please.
Jeremy. Ya está.
¿Listo?
Listo.
Gracias.
También viene llegando ya Jonathan Austin, el director, uno de los dos directores de Calabozos y Dragones.
Jonathan.
Chío. Que se sienta.
Jonathan.
Que se sienta.
Thank you.
Lili dijo que sí. To the left, please.
Grítale, grítale.
Left, left. Here, here. Left.
Jonathan. Grítale bien, güey.
Gracias.
Yo como le grité y volteé. Más para acá, sí. Sí, por el sol.
Ya está con nosotros también Sophia Lilis.
Sophia.
There.
Sofía.
Okay.
Sofía.
Right. Sophia, right here. Sophia.
Sofía.
Sophia. Center, Sophie, please.
Sofía.
Right. To this camera, Sophie, please.
Grítale, grítale.
To the left.
Sofía.
Left.
Left.
One with me, please, Sophia.
Sofía. Sofía.
Sofía, Sofía.
Sofía. Ahí está.
Nos acompaña también Hugh Grant.
Uy. Thank you. Ese es de los grandes actores. ¿No? Hugh Grant. Hugh Grant, no manches. Hey, hola. Hugh. Hugh.
Hugh, to the side, please. Right.
Yeah. Hugh.
Center, please. Center, center. Hugh. Right.
Hugh.
Hugh, center, please.
Hugh, left.
Right.
Exacto. Sí, se volteó.
Left.
Hugh. Hugh,
Ya
left.
está con nosotros
Say hi
también
with your hand.
Hugh.
Hugh. Right,
Chris. Chris.
Right.
Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Ahí está.
Right.
Sí, volteó hasta allá.
To the side, Chris.
Chris. Ahí está.
Chris. Chris, Chris.
Desaprovechado, güey.
Center, please. Right, right. Center. Chris. One without the glasses, please. Okay, thank you.
Muy bien, los invito a tomarse ya. Estamos muy contentos de presentarles a este increíble cast. Guys, welcome to Mexico. I have to say, I'm not impressed, but you're incredibly stylish, all of you. I have to say that before seeing you. Yeah. The glasses, everything, pretty good, pretty well done. Welcome to Mexico. I hope you have a great time here. And I think I'm going to start with the first question. I'm going to choose the first question, which is for all of you. How invested did you get into the actual role game of making this film?
How invested while making the film?
Yeah, or even before, because I know you guys were fans.
Well, we did play a game when the cast, Hugh hadn't arrived yet, but the rest of the cast was in Belfast, and we organized about a 4-hour game of Dungeons and Dragons with them, so that they could kind of get the feel of what it was like to play the game if they hadn't already. Although Sophia has quite a history.
That was it, actually. I've never finished the campaign, but I've always wanted to Yeah, no, my nephew is a huge player, has played for many years with his friends for 6 years or so, and writes his own campaigns and draws his own maps, and so I got a chance to see what the beauty of D&D was like by watching him and his friends play. It's a wonderful game that requires an incredible amount of imagination, creativity, and improvisational skills, and it was very much like acting, quite honestly, and so the joy that he and his friends derive from it, and just thought it was a real
You know, I had not been allowed to play D&D as a kid. I grew up in Oklahoma, which is like kind of in the middle of the country, and in the 80s, and there was like this stigma around Dungeons and Dragons. Exactly. Yeah, that's what it was.
Right?
That's what it was. Yeah, there was I remember a thing at my church when I was in the 80s, saying like, don't play D&D, and I think it's kind of a bummer because we realize how many great things come out of it. Like Chris was saying, all the great characteristics that come out of the game, all the great team building skills, and all the great problem solving skills, and all the great like kind of conversational skills. I wish I'd been allowed to play it as a kid, and so my introduction to it was on this movie, and was trying to like dive in and figure it all out on the film, which was really fantastic and a lot of fun.
And Hugh, I know you didn't get to play it, but what kind of stories did you hear from them playing?
Well, that's not quite true. I have played now.
Okay.
But Lucifer arrived, and it was terrifying.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. So like everything you were warned about, I think is true.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I really objected to the sacrifice of the babies. I thought that was
You're right. Vamos con la primera pregunta. Me parece que es de spoiler time. Les pido que se pongan de pie y nos digan su nombre para hacer la pregunta.
Hi everybody, I'm Diana Sun from Spoiler Time. We're not talking about spoilers of the movie, so don't worry. You had a very challenging task to fulfill with this movie because you had to deliver a fresh, fun, accessible, and compelling narrative. Then honor the fans of the game. Then lead, manage, an all-star cast. And then get good reviews, which you already are getting. Then we're waiting for the box office. That's the next step. And I want to ask you, what lesson do you treasure the most after the experience that each one of you had in this movie?
Well, I guess for me, it's the same lesson that our band of adventurers learns, which is that as difficult as a challenge can be, and making this movie was about as challenging as I can imagine. If you persevere and believe in the end goal, you can do it. And I'm very proud of the movie that we all made. And I think all the hard work we put in is reflected on screen. It's part of the reason we're getting those good reviews.
Really, for me, it's what John and Jonathan came to me originally with was a film that was had a big, giant, earnest heart. It took itself seriously-ish, and was able to have a good time without making fun of itself, and reminded me very much of the films that I grew up watching in the 80s, whether it be Goonies or Princess Bride or Indiana or whatnot. So it felt simultaneously very new and intriguing, but also kind of old and nostalgic, and I'm definitely one for nostalgia, so it really appealed to me. I think in today's world that can be so brutal, the great thing about cinema at its best is that it can make you leave the theater feeling better than you did when you walked in. And having seen this now with lots of crowds, to see people's faces after they come out of the theater is a really validating experience.
I agree with Chris here. I think this, what I really loved about this movie, I remember reading it, and I think it had a very unique voice that I haven't really seen in other, big action films. It's usually they don't really focus too much on the characters and the development and the relationship between each other. I just really feel like this movie did such a good job doing, and its humor as well was very unique, and I haven't seen that before. So, I had a lot of fun. It was very different from what I was used to haven't really done something like this before. And it's funny. I had a lot of fun, and I found this experience to be so unique. And leaving it, you're like, oh, that's really nice and everything. But actually coming back here now, like 2 years later, and talking about this again, you're like, people ask you, like, why did you love this movie so much? And you start to realize, like, yeah, this was a good movie. This, like it was very unique, and it had all this heart in it, and the relationships between other characters and that were so real, and something you actually haven't really seen before, like Chris's character and Michelle was, to have that as the main thing. Their very brother sister relationship is something you actually haven't really seen before in other action films, and there's no love interest or anything, it wasn't like like for instance my character and Simon's character wasn't like, oh, we're like, I didn't love you but now you've become stronger so I love you again, and they didn't, like, their relationship didn't make each other, like, it didn't because I love you I'm a stronger person and stuff like that. It was just a really heartfelt, cute just relationship that they had that was was funny, and they become good friends, and their development wasn't because that they started loving each other, their development was just because of themselves and their growth. So I think this was really a very unique movie.
Jeremy?
I think walking away from it, I think the memories of kind of going away to Belfast with this great screenplay and all of us working really hard together over the course of these many, many months, and walking away from it with a film that I think feels really different than everything else that's out there. It's difficult to make a first movie, to make a film that's just a film, and not have the ability of, like, oh, it's a sequel and it's part 10 or whatever. It's like a new thing, and I think we need new things in the cinema. So I think all my memories of the film were just like I'm proud of the accomplishment that we've had together, the time we had together to make the film, and I'm very excited. I'm ready for people to see it en masse, because Chris is right. Every time we show it to an audience, people really seem to enjoy it, and I'm really proud of the film we made.
Probably the thing that attracted me most to this film, which is not normally the kind of film I do, was that it was A, extremely funny, and B, it was about losers, and I love losers. The Brits love losers, and it would have been easier to make this film about, a super warrior or something. But actually, the lead character is just a rather untalented musician, and his best friend is a barbarian with an unhappy marriage, and I love that, and I think it's very charming, and I congratulate John and Jonathan and Jeremy and everyone for daring to bring real humanity back to big Hollywood blockbuster action-packed things.
Untalented musician, but a good dancer. I have to say that. La siguiente pregunta es de El Sol de México. ¿Estás por ahí?
Hi guys, nice to meet you. I'm Lilis here from El Sol de Mexico. And my question is for Chris and Hugh. These characters, as Hugh mentioned, they are losers. They are not afraid to say they have flaws. So in which ways do you think that having an unperfected hero helps a hero in real life? And Chris, I'd like to ask you, because you also work with so many talented directors, so I'd like to know how much have you learned from them in order to prepare for your directing debut? Thank you.
What was the first question?
The first question is if it helps. I'm going to try to say it again. Your character is not afraid to admit that he has flaws, and he ends up being the hero in many aspects. How do you think that this modesty can help heroes in real life? This was for Chris and me.
Because I think I think generally speaking, the reason why I am attracted to these kinds of characters is that I feel like they resemble all of us for the most part. It's one thing to watch extraordinary people do extraordinary things with capes and whatever. I grew up watching, I always talk about, but I watched Indiana, and I watched Han, and I watched Bruce doing Die Hard, and those guys to me were my archetypes, and they were super flawed people trying to do great things, and it felt much more like me, and I think maybe a lot like how you all might feel, and humanity feels in general. So what can we learn from it is that sometimes it's nice to watch an aspirational film with people that are just simply extraordinary. It's also nice to watch yourself reflected in the heroes that you see on screen. Is that it? Yeah, that was the question, right? Yeah.
Do you want to add something?
Only that playing people with flaws is extremely difficult for me because I personally don't have any. So this was a big acting challenge, and I hope I brought it off.
You nailed it. La siguiente pregunta es de Sin Escape.
Escape, for producer, within the magic of cinema, how complicated is the creation of characters within period films?
What's that again? Say one more time.
Within the magic of cinema, how complicated is the creation of characters within period films?
Oh, I mean, I think creating a world on top of creating a movie is really challenging. You know, most films you can just set it in the real world, and you can go to the shop and buy normal things, and you can go to a normal location. This movie, everything had to be built. Everything had to be created bespoke for the film. Every detail had to be considered. Every set had to be built from the ground up. Design work, tons and tons of work went into every little detail of the film. And so it's different than making like a contemporary movie. You have to create the entire world that these guys get to inhabit, and you have to make it feel real and lived in, and like a place that's existed for a really long time. And so it takes a lot of collaboration with so many different types of people to kind of pull that off. And I think the guys, John and Jonathan, have done an incredible job with their direction of leading us on a path of creating this world and making it feel like a real place, so that when the actors show up, they're able to kind of just dive right in and get to live in this extraordinary environment that they've put together for them.
Do you want to add something?
No, I think Jeremy really captured it. World building is it's a word that's used a lot in big movies like this. And I think really what it comes down to is creating something that feels like a place you could go, in the way that Star Wars did it. You felt this giant world outside of Luke and Leia, but you didn't get to see too much of it, not in the first movie. And that was our goal here, was just to try to give you a sense that there's this giant world of D&D that comes from 50 years of the game's existence, but we weren't going to try and show all of it in one movie.
We're looking forward to more movies, definitely.
We'll see.
La siguiente pregunta es de Uno TV.
Welcome to Mexico. I want to ask for Jonathan, what was the biggest challenge in making this film, and what did you clear didn't want to do, and what did you want to do?
What did who not want to do?
With the film.
The biggest challenge I think was finding the right tone, was landing that balance between humor and action, adventure, heart, because if you go too far in the comedy direction, it becomes a spoof and people kind of check out. So it was always a balance. We also, the other challenge of this movie was how to make it appeal to the fans of the game equally to those who know nothing about D&D, and that was always our focus here. So yeah, and I think we've achieved it, because so far the reactions we're getting are equally positive from both of those camps.
La siguiente pregunta es de Squire. ¿Estás?
Hi, nice to meet you. Did you watch the animated series from the 80s? And for Chris, which franchise was the bigger challenge? Dungeons and Dragons, Wonder Woman, or Star Trek?
I had not watched the show, actually. I became aware of it during the making of this movie, and we gave a sort of visual shout out to it because we knew it had a huge fan base. But I was sort of that age that I think I was too old to watch the cartoon when it came out.
No, I never watched the animated series, and there's no one's harder than the other. They're all hard in their own individual ways and easy as well. This one what I particularly enjoyed about D&D in this world is that there are myriad stories. Everybody that plays this game has their own adventure. Everybody talks about the IP of it. The IP of D&D is a world, some creatures, some rules, regulations, some storylines, but above and beyond that, every single person, the billions of people that have played this game, each have their own thing. So I play a character called Edgin, but there's no Edgin in the world of D&D. We made Edgin up, and I bring myself as much to this role as my nephew brings to playing, the role that he plays in his game, or your nephew, or you yourself. So my preparation for this was just showing up and trying to have a good time.
Sophia, you're young, but did you watch it at all?
No.
No. Are you gonna watch it now, or maybe not?
It has a cute little uniform. Right?
Didn't they? Let me just ask. Sorry. So in order for them to get into the D&D world, they ride a roller coaster.
Yes, that's right.
It's
a ride at a park, and somehow it magically takes them into the world.
Okay.
We briefly considered that direction.
Yeah, did you? Oh, okay.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for your time. I think I'm gonna let you go. But before leaving, we're gonna take a group picture right back where you were. Thank you so much for your
Van a mirar primero de este lado, después aquí, después aquí.
Más juntos, porfa.
Amigos, sales en la foto. ¿Dónde sale el sol? Tiene que correr y pegarse. Can you squeeze a little bit more, everyone? Okay. Perfect. Ahí está. Now in this side. This side, everyone. Here. Right. Now in this side. Here. Squeeze a little bit more, everyone. Okay. Perfect.